Good afternoon, beautiful people. What you see in front of you is the total amount of gold that I have accumulated here. Um, but this is kind of what I'm going to talk about today, but I'm thinking something different, and you'll understand. But the other day, Chuck Norris called me. He said, "Let's go." I said, "Okay." So he pulled up in front of the house, jumped in. He's in his truck, and we just drive. We're driving forever. Now, if you know Chuck Norris, he don't talk much because when he uses his mouth to speak, whatever comes out is totally important. And so here we are. We're driving out in the middle of the Texas desert over in East Texas. And he drove out in the middle of this, I don't know, Nowheresville. And he gets out and says, "Dig." I said, "What?" "Okay, fine." He's Chuck Norris. You just do what Chuck Norris tells you to do. Well, a couple of inches down, we found a stash of gold. So this is what he gave me to, just joking, but to keep. But Chuck Norris knew right where to. He didn't even use a metal detector. Imagine that. He just says dig there, and boom. So I started digging, and he helped dig too. Of course, each one of his shovelfuls were 6 times more than what I could do. But anyhow, the gold was right there. So I started thinking, uh-oh, Mark, what's the matter with you? Well, let's get into the video. As y'all know, I love gold and silver. And I thought, well, it's hard to find the silver, hard to find the gold nowadays, unless you spend a lot of money, right? So I went out and bought me, this is a cheapie, metal detector. And, you have to be able to see where you're going from up above. Okay, so why do I need to see from up above? Well, in the state of Texas, there were cattle trails. I'm sure there's cattle trails in every state. But the cattle trails were used because that was the route that the cattles could easily go up and over hills and small little things, but they never really climbed up a huge mountain. There ain't nothing in Texas called huge. But that's the way people would travel, is using the cow trails. And you're going to say, "Well, Mark, you're late to the program." As always, I'm always late. But I watch a lot of metal detecting shows. And I find it very interesting because I'm jealous of y'all that live up in the northern states over on the East Coast. And y'all can look for Civil War musket balls, coins, belt buckles, whatever. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, I wish I could do that. Well, I watched some videos about the legends of East Texas. And one of the videos was about I believe his name was Prince Maximilian. And he had 15 wagons full of gold and jewelry. He was going to come into San Antonio, where I live, and establish something here. I don't know. I wasn't there. Anyhow, so I said, "Mark, it's underneath your feet, and it's free. Wouldn't that be interesting to get some free stuff?" Well, we also had the Battle of the Alamo here. Santa Anna and his men came in from somewhere near Del Rio. It's about 150 miles away from me. And he had all his troops marching through the winter storms of Texas, which is not really a storm. Maybe back then it might have been. But a lot of his men passed away. And so there's remnants somewhere of these men who were buried. But one of the things that they said in this story was that one of his stops was Leon Creek on his way to San Antonio. And if you know where Leon Creek is, it's about 2 miles away from my house. Well, all the horses and the men needed water, correct? And I said, So they stopped there and camped on the Leon Creek. And I don't know if it was the next day, but they went into battle at the Alamo. What if I found a saber? What if I found some buttons or gold pieces from back in those days? That would be interesting. But like I say, the other guy had 15 wagons of gold and jewelry, whatever. And you'd have to go and listen to that story, because that one was really interesting. It's kind of long to put on the video in a quick shot, but that's what I'm up to. I thought I need more coins, right? As if I need more coins. But having that said, what is the odds of finding this stuff? I don't know if anybody had a piece of gold in their pocket or not. That other one from the Prince Maximilian, that was gold bars. 15 wagons full, pulled by, let's just say, oxen, because oxen are stout and they could pull the heavy weight. And he had a whole bunch of guards, and then he hired some Confederate soldiers, and during the night the Confederate soldiers decided to take everything for themselves, and there was 5 of them. They dug a hole, threw all the gold in there that they could handle. They put what they could handle on their horses and left the rest of the gold there. They buried all the men with that gold, and they continued on the way. But they burnt all the wagons on top of the gold underneath the ground. That way they could use it as a marker. We all know that when sand gets hot, it turns basically into glass, or as that type of a substance. And then it comes down to where these 5 guys took what they could, and one guy fell sick and he stayed behind and caught up to them later, and those other 4 guys were removed from the earth. And so he continued into town, where into San Antonio, and he eventually died from whatever he got out there in the desert. Anyhow, the point is that it's a folklore, it's a tale, and apparently the gold is still out there. Now, that destination is approximately 4 hours away from my house. I'm thinking, Mark, you're going about this all wrong. Yes, I love the heck out of collecting coins. But take a day off, 2 days off, whatever, go search an area, then come back. Like I said, the one area is only 1 or 2 miles away from my house. They always had to stop at a river to get something to drink. We have to think like they did back then. Anyhow, people, this is just something that I thought about, and I've been thinking about it, and I finally have my $150 metal detector and a little $150 drone, because you know I have to learn all those things first, and then I have to triangulate where everybody was traveling during those days. Anyhow, I love all of y'all. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Maybe one of these days I'll have a video of me pulling a memorial cent out of the ground, and I'll put it on video just for y'all. Anyhow, love all of y'all. Bye.